Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, Jimmy. How are you? So, can you please confirm, am I audible to all of you?
Yes, I can hear you guys.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you are audible.
Thank you so much for the confirmation. So, I hope that we should start the session. Just a second. Let me share my screen. Kindly confirm once my screen is visible to all of you.
I can see that.
Okay. So, without wasting time, we should start. So let me, some of you already know, those who doesn't, let me introduce myself. My name is Abdullah Anis and I'm here as a channel manager South here at S2. My responsibility to managing all channel partners and business activities across the southern region of Pakistan. We have Mr. Awais, the product manager Omnissa, and Mr. Jimmy, the technical lead from Omnissa. So who is basically the today's presenter as well. So before we dive into the presentation, allow me to give you a quick overview of S2. S2 is a valuable added distributor with over a decade of experience in the enterprise IT and cybersecurity industry. Our core focus span a wide range of technology domain, including security, risk, compliance, information management, and data protection, access identity and authentication, network security, data center and cloud infrastructure, endpoints and mobility management, and last but not least, ITSM. We proudly represent several global recognized technology vendors that includes Ivanti, Delinea, Omnissa, Logarithm, Secart. So we all know that Ivanti is very known about their patch management. Here in Delinea is PAMS. Logarithm is known for SIEM. Secart is for security hardening. And Omnissa is basically VMware Workspace ONE and VMware Horizon. So the similar with the others brand that Commvault is known for backup and email archiving solution and so on so on. We cater the key industry verticals such as financial sectors, telecommunication, government and public sectors, healthcare, energy and utilities, education, manufacturing and industrial enterprise. This broad industry and technology focus allow us to deliver tailored enterprise-grade solutions that meet specific regulatory operation and security requirements. So, without wasting any much time, I would like to invite Mr. Awais or Mr. Jimmy to please take the presentation and share and share the details with the customers. Thank you. Jimmy, over to you.
All right. Thank you, Anis. Okay. Let's see. First of all, are you be able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I'm going to run through the agenda for today. Is actually that, we have the quite a fair bit actually to go through. I'll try to wrap up actually, but I don't want to. For the interest of time, actually, that I will try to push. If you have any questions, actually, that, let's keep it in the chat, and we can go through it actually at the end of the presentations. Okay. I got a lot of exciting things actually to share with everyone actually for today's actually we're gonna uncover a lot of especially when talk about Horizon, what other basics differentiators, the use cases that we're gonna use, how can we actually accelerate actually with the your values and some of the highlights that was been recently announced from Omnissa one that was actually hosted in Las Vegas last month. So without further ado, actually, let me I'll do a bit of an introduction. My name is Jimmy. That I'm actually supporting the Pakistan actually territory for both the I'll call it the end user computing sites. Okay, so now what exactly is actually the end user computing things actually from Omnissa? So I'm going to start actually with these slides that a lot of people actually are still very new actually with the name Omnissa. So we actually came from actually that we are the X end user computing actually from VMware. So but back then actually that we are one of the high performance division actually from VMware. So 2 years ago, Broadcom actually came in actually and acquired the entire VMware. So inclusive of the EUC divisions. They make our division, the EUC division, as a standalone divisions. Okay, then as of last year, we became actually a solely independent actually company on our own. So we just turned 1 year old as of July, and we actually been divested actually from Broadcom. We become a standalone company under the ownership of KKR. KKR is actually one of the largest private equity firm actually in the market. So Omnissa actually been known as the result of our commitment and persistence. So KK understood our vision and they have a very deep conviction actually about the market opportunity and our ability to lead the space. So with the backing actually of KKR, we are now actually more agile and assets actually to focus exclusively on transforming our digital workspace experience for customer and partners around the world. So here's a bit actually of where our business stands today. We are now approximate 4 billion business. We are growing and profitable, generating 1.5 billion of ARR. Our solution actually been trusted and used by more than 26 customers worldwide, including those more than I would say 50% of them are coming from Fortune 500 companies. We have more than 4,000 employees. Majority of them actually come from the ex-VMware EUC like myself. So most of our leadership teams actually they all come from the ex EUC VMware. So that was exactly that. Although that being Omnissa as a very brand new actually the logo, the brand actually in the market, but our solutions are not new. Our solution actually been used for more than 20 plus over years actually and been used across all of the industry that you can see over here. Be it educations, be it healthcare, FSIs, retails, public sectors, or manufacturing. Our solution actually been positioned actually in the leader that, be it that if you've seen from IDC or if you look at from Gartner, we are always actually positioned actually as a leader. And our solution is the only one actually that includes all of the certifications coming from inclusive of NIAP, FedRAMP, the ISA, PCI, SOX compliances, So we have actually the most comprehensive in terms of the certifications. So bringing forward actually today is actually the Omnissa platform. Omnissa platform is actually the first AI-driven digital work platform that actually to drive smart, seamless, and secure experience anywhere. So our solution actually integrates actually with multiple leading solutions like, for instance, the virtual desktop, the unified endpoint management, security compliance, and digital employee experience. So these are all based on the two, I would say, for the longest running actually brand in the market, Horizon and Workspace ONE. So although that, I mentioned that, we actually spin off actually from VMware or from Broadcom actually, but the branding of our solutions are still remain, like Horizon and Workspace ONE has been used. So conversion is actually the key. We unify all of these solutions actually through a common administrations, identity, analytics, and automations across orchestration frameworks. So build on this actually visions on autonomous workspace where we are talking about self-configuring, self-healing, and self-secure, right? Omnissa become a continuous adapt actually to the way people work and drive these outcomes for smarter IT to transform the EUC tools and infrastructure to drive a smarter decision and skill and agility to drive a seamless experience, to adapt and to enable your employees from dynamic work styles to become proactive so that you can always on your securities in terms of compliance and checking, preventing threats and orchestrations, zero trust across device, applications, and users. Okay, I'm going to jump into this actually on our main key focus today, Horizon. Like I mentioned, Horizon has been there for the longest time actually that, in the industry, providing the leading platforms actually to secure delivery of desktop and applications across hybrid cloud. If you look at the sites today, right, Horizon actually provides, I'll call it flexible deployments. In terms of actually, if you look at from the bottom side, from on-premise, we call it bring your own hardware to public cloud, which is bringing your own cloud. So the clouds actually can support actually all of the most common hyperscalers, actually from Google, Microsoft to AWS. Regardless of actually where you are deploying your Horizon or your virtual desktop is, you can have a mixture of Horizon or virtual desktop in on-premise, a partial of your virtual desktop on Microsoft, another partial on Google, another partial on AWS. But they can all be commonly managed by a single control plane. We call it Horizon control plane. So within the Horizon control plane, that actually you can manage all of those different deployments from your virtual desktop, from things like managing applications, the image, the monitorings, the automation services, all of it. From a user point of view, actually, it becomes seamless for them because they just have a single URL that it will be broker depending on where's the user located. So for instance, actually, we detected actually that, always is actually traveling to another territory. Let's say it's actually Europe. So it makes more sense actually to distribute the virtual desktop rather than on-premise to a virtual desktop that's actually nearer to its location from a single URL. So that's actually how powerful actually that Horizon it is. I'm going to spend a bit more time actually to talk about, like, if Horizon is actually so great, right? What are actually the use cases that we have today in Horizon or virtual desktop? So I touched base on a lot of the industry that we have across all of our customers. So I'm gonna go through a few of them actually and share today actually what other use cases that we have on Horizon or virtual desktop. So let's talk about education. We have a lot of actually customers actually on education space, but let's specifically zooms into those education customers actually using with Horizon. One of the most also famous actually use case are virtual labs. So virtual labs are changing our traditionally physical labs where the students actually have those they typically went to the university or campus actually to a physical labs actually to get the lab resources. For instance, they could be the place actually that they're doing their uh, tutorials or what do you call it, physical projects actually in that lab. But the physical labs still have a lot of a constraint. It constraint actually giving you things like, for example, it has to be limited to a physical, meaning to say that students now actually that in order for them to get access to the lab resources, the lab are only open from 9 to 5. But what happens to the rest of the time? So by changing this actually, to a virtual labs, it gives you a lot of other benefits. Now, the students are no longer bounded by the time. Typical students, I will tell you that most of them actually works at night. The time like maybe 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. These are the time actually that whereas the faculty, the campus are actually shut down. So with virtualized now, actually, they can access the labs environments anytime, anywhere, using any of the devices. And it also gives a lot of other advantage. Like for example, that it gives you a central management of application desktop. Now, this also become a very, very number one pain points that a lot of educations physical lab actually have facing. For instance, actually today, that they can telling you that um, as an IT, they can tell you that in the next 1 or 2 hours, actually, I need to change all of my physical labs actually that are supporting for my business users to IT users. That I need to actually wipe off all of my desktop and then re-image them actually with the IT applications. Now it depends, right? Now this kind of things actually happens every time. Like when business users actually applications students actually come in, they will need to access the business applications. The IT users actually students come in actually they will need to access the IT applications. The engineering users come in, they will access engineering applications. Now, from the point of view from IT admin, right, it become a hassle. If today I remain everything as a physical, I have to keep on re-imaging the desktop, the applications. Now, by having everything virtualized already, it becomes something simple. I can just push the desktop and applications to the users depending on which time they access, depending on which user profiles that come in. So it address a lot of things actually from zero trust, anywhere learning to simplifying the operations. There's some of other use case actually that I didn't highlight actually on the screen are things that actually can also be done on unified endpoint management. But of course, today I just want to focus more on the virtual desktop piece. So that's pretty much actually on the healthcare. On the educations. Now we're going to jump to the healthcare. So in healthcare, right, you see a lot of this thing called shared workstations. And there's one of the uh, major things actually that we always use actually solutions that we use for the healthcare. We call it tap and turn. So what exactly is tap and turn? So like I said, actually, I know you see a lot of this kind of shared workstations across a lot of the clinics or hospitals. They are all there actually across levels, floors, and sometimes you also seen some of the oldest healthcare tree, they are using this computer on wheels. We call it COW, COW in short. They're pushing like a cart, but with the whole entire workstations, monitors, screens, everything. And this kind of workstation they are shared across all of the employees, be it the physicians, the nurses, or the doctors. Okay. Now, what do we exactly do is actually in healthcare, right? Our solutions, Horizon, we save up to 55 minutes every day, removing the waiting times for the applications and the desktop to loads every time when the users requires to access to the workstations. So what exactly do they do actually? These nurse and doctors, right? They will tap their badge to log in. Okay. Now, because of login, they need to put in the credentials, the username, the password. Sometimes they got it wrong. Sometimes they key in the things password wrongly, or sometimes that the password is actually that is expired. A lot of cases. But with this single sign-on things, right? They just requires to tap the badge to the card reader. It will automatically sign in Okay, without requiring to put in the username, we only to put in the password. It will just automatically sign in within seconds. Okay, to log in. Now, that's where the desktop is actually customized according to their profiles. Like I mentioned, that for example, the doctors might require to access to all of this patient's data. But if he's actually a neurosurgeon, right, he'll get access actually to some of the X-ray, the applications, or the brain surgeries kind of applications. But a different kind of doctors or physicians actually they will have a different applications according to their profiles that follows them. So what is actually helps actually that it save a lot of time actually. Like I told you that getting the users actually to key in the username passwords, uh, putting in the wrongly, trying to put in logging in again, sometimes reset the password, those kind of things. Now, why do I say that kind of few minutes is a lot? Because we're dealing with healthcare. We're dealing with a human life. Now, bear in mind that a few minutes savings to this in this healthcare industry is save a human life as well. So this it gives you a very consistent kind of experience. There will be no surprise that telling you that this application cannot be loaded, your your password keying wrongly, or the password you just been keying actually that expired or whatsoever. And it doesn't even have to. And the simple things that when you're done with your jobs, right, they just need to tap in again the badge that will log off the desktop. So these are some of those I would say actually very very unique solution actually that we provided for a lot of our healthcare. Saving the times, and giving them the always on access. Now let's move on to the next financial FSI. Uh, FSI is being the one of the main reasons actually to regulate the compliance because they're dealing with a lot of sensitive data in terms of financial apps or data, right? So there'll be a lot of cases like like things from hybrid workforce. Even though that after pandemics actually there's still a lot of people actually practicing hybrid workforce. Some's doing some alternate weeks, and things like providing digital employee experience, uh, virtualizing legacy applications. I found a lot of legacy applications actually in a lot of FSIs today. And one of the best ways actually that we talk about that if and especially like Microsoft just announced, right, um, ending the life of Windows 10, moving to Windows 11. But what happens actually in today's actually that I still see a lot of my customers actually using Windows 7 applications. One of the best ways actually to keep on providing these applications actually by virtualizing them. And another great use case actually that providing secure access for external contractors. So contractors are uh, they are the peoples that you work with that they need to access to your applications and data. But at the same times, they are not your employees. They may be just bringing their own device, which is not even managed by you. But because they need to access your application data, one of the easiest ways actually that people have been always doing is actually that providing them VPN access. But guess what? Sometimes when you provide a VPN access actually to the external contractors, right, you may not know actually that you are actually giving them a full-blown access to your data centers. So it have a lot of risk actually in the traditional way of providing this kind of secure access. Now with Horizon, actually I can determine what I can limit just the specific applications to the contractors or the users. And also there's a lot of I've seen a lot of trendings actually, a lot of use cases actually on RPA, robotic process automations. So in FSIs, right, in RPA is actually uh, like it mentions that robotic process automations is something that is automations actually to perform a robotics process. So basically, this kind of applications or desktop, right? They are not really used by users day in and day out, but they're typically just left there 24/7, running like a scripted automations jobs. So day in day out, actually, you may need to actually come in and look at it. How's the processing been doing? Is there anything wrong? What's the progress looks like? And we've seen a lot of good use case actually in virtual desktop area. And regardless of all of these use cases that I mentioned over here, right? They can be used by different user profiles, you know, be it remote mobile users, people coming from processing, call centers. Why do I mention this kind of call centers? Because call centers are having the highest attrition rate in most of the organizations. You hardly see a call centers agents they last long more than few years. They're typically the lifespan actually like few months, then they will move over to another organizations because of the number of stress, nature actually in the call center environments. And guess what? When they move around from bank A to bank B, sometimes they bring along the confidential data, the customer data. So these are the things actually that why that's why I want to highlight specifically why call centers, because that is actually the easiest place actually that your data will be able to leak out. And how do you want to actually protect all this data? The best way is actually by not having any of this data at all residing on the endpoint. Virtual desktop is actually the best way. Same goes to people like developer, tech company. They are dealing with your IP, your proprietary confidential data, IP. Imagine a software coding that leak out in the market. It could be a multi-million loss to the organization, you know, jeopardizing the branding, the image of the company. So we have a lot more. It stretched across actually like because of virtual desktop, right? We can scale actually from those normal users to power users to tech users, we can easily scale them. We can easily address them for like people from branch campus, because some of them actually can be temporary workers for coming in from project perspective, maybe just a few months kind of things. So rather than getting a dedicated desktop or laptop for them, I can now spin off virtual desktop for them. And if I don't need, I can just scale it down. Easy. The next use case I want to talk about is actually graphic intensive applications. Now, because when I virtualize my desktop from my physical, I'm bringing all the resources now to my backend infrastructures, to my backend resources. I can now actually utilize even GPU. I can virtualize even GPU to multiple users, or designers or engineers. We can make it more distributed. So especially when you are dealing with, we have a lot of use case for GPU, especially for those like people from oil and gas, even for people like I mentioned just now, the educations, when it, especially for students are doing dealing with multimedia applications like Adobe, Acrobat, Photoshop, and then those are animation. Those people dealing with animations like uh, we have a lot of Katia applications, those kind of things actually that they are virtualized using our solutions. So all this actually, like, you can see that there's a similarity that, it goes back to the same reason, because of they're dealing with company IP. These are companies' proprietary data because the corporates can never deal with anything like data leakage. Like I told you that, imagine that, I have a lot of my customers actually dealing with in the manufacturing space actually for they're using their design works like CATIAs, those kind of applications actually to do designs. Imagine the next model of iPhone, if it's actually leaked out to your competitors, what are the impacts actually to these organizations? For example, the same things actually that, it applies actually that more of this kind of a designer or engineers, right? They are not in-house. They are external contractors. Same thing. External contractors are users that doesn't belongs to your company. You can't apply security policy to someone that wasn't even part of your users. You can't manage their laptop or desktop because they are not your users. They come in bringing their devices. So the best way is actually that, how do we restrict all of this security and data is actually by virtualizing them. I have a lot of other use cases, but I won't be touching all of the industry. I'm just going to name some of those across. It may be also applied to other industry as well, like BYOD. It happens a lot. BYD is also one of the next actually that trending actually that we saw on educations. Merger and acquisition. A company A that just acquire or merge with company B, they have a totally standalone applications. But at the same time, when you're talking about merging, right, before these two applications merge into a single applications, right, company A might still need to access company A application and company B may still need be accessing the company B applications. So the best way is actually, they probably have come across that even the AD are not trusted. They are standalone for us. So the best way is actually, like I told you, that by providing them virtualized applications while waiting for all of those applications merge, provide them a virtualized application so that they can access both applications from the new company and the existing company. I mentioned a lot on the security and compliance. These are I would say the number one reason also that a lot of people doing virtual desktop because of they need to comply. Healthcare have probably got HIPAA. Finance sites actually they probably have the SOX compliances. Some other industry actually practice PCI data security. So all of this actually mandates actually there's a proper way actually to protect the applications and data. The others use cases like things like site expansions. Virtualizing them actually one of the easiest way actually for you to expand your data centers. Hash A, DR site. I even have some of my customers actually that having their productions applications on premise, and because DR are seldomly used, right? They put their DR on the cloud and just expand it, burst it anytime that they wanted, scale it when there are a lot of more users coming in, when they have temporary worker or seasonal workers, I will have things actually like for co-location, people like branch users, because they're dealing with legacy bandwidth. They have limited bandwidth across branches. Virtual desktop is another best way actually because we can deliver great user experience across those kind of branches. Now you see most of all these use cases, right? They all have a very common challenges due to security compliances, due to application access, due to the legacy system, or even being due to the IT talent shortage. So what really makes Horizon so different in the market? So one of the other reasons actually that I see is actually that, the differentiator I see is actually that, I told you Horizons come from VMware, right? I mean, Horizon come from VMware. That's where we started, right? Omnissa, we are the XUC divisions. So there's still a lot of our customers and partners still doesn't know that, we bundle the vSphere license, the vCenter license actually as part of the VVF for VDI offerings together with Horizon. Now, what does that mean? It means that, today that you are spending another different VDI solutions, you may still need to come across the hypervisor that requires to be chosen. Now, we all know that, vSphere today's are no longer the vSphere few years ago back in VMware time, especially the price change, right? The price change that we're talking about from Broadcom on CPU cores change, number of processor. But the good thing about Horizon is actually when you buy Horizon, all this become available to the customers. You're no longer tied with the Broadcom vSphere license that limiting you on number of cores, limiting you in number of hosts, or limiting you in number of CPU. So the VVF for VDI, so this is actually one of the things actually that one of the best things actually that we have actually when we spin off from Broadcom. A lot of people are excited because actually we strike a deal with Broadcom actually to continue provide all of our Horizons customers with vSphere and vCenters. So we part of the VVF for VDI bundling. Now, it doesn't stop there. And we also heard the same actually from Citrix customers. They've been telling that, hey, Citrix actually have a lot of price change throughout the few years, There's also a lot of change actually in terms of sales and coverage. They pull up in most of the major countries, including Malaysia, And there's a lot of experience that's been changed. And guess what? Citrix used to tell us actually that, you're buying Citrix actually VDI, I mean, as a VDI solutions, right? But guess most of the hypervisor that has been running today is running on vSphere. Now, what does that mean? It means that if today you have a lot of a Citrix customer, please feel free and ask them actually that, because there will be comes to a price, I mean, a point that, they will be facing the same problem, which is the vSphere price increase from Broadcom. Last time you will not hear this actually because last time, VMware have all this kind of ELA where they have an unlimited kind of a license actually to be used, but no longer in this case now. Okay, when Broadcom come actually, they change the entire vSphere licensing, so it has a huge impact also on the Citrix side because Citrix are tapping on the vSphere unlimited vSphere license last time. It means actually like now is actually the best time for you to go back to all of your Citrix customers actually to ask, how are they doing? How's the licensing change doing? Are they actually good actually to explore for Omnissa? Since now that we give a much more value, not just on the VDI side, but on the hypervisor. And of course, the others benefits actually, I would say that the other differentiators, I would say is actually that we being a modern platform, Horizon being a modern platform, actually that it transformed the old way of traditional VDIs being managed into something much more simplified. We have features like DEM, instant clone, app volumes actually. They are all there actually to simplify your day two operations. Getting your VDI up is just the first phase, but maintaining them with all of the applications changes, keeping them with the OS updates, simplifying the user provisionings. These are the next challenge. So a lot of things actually that can be actually automated by Horizon. So some of this actually that like I mentioned, is actually the modern way of how do we do application packaging. So a lot of people actually that, a lot of you guys actually probably have heard app volumes. App volumes has been there since Horizon 7.0, So we are the first one actually that, transform, I told you, the traditional VDI where they actually tightly integrate all the profile settings, applications with the OS, everything tightly integrated together. But when Horizon comes in, actually, we segregate them, all of this into separate layers. The profile and settings become a separate layers. The applications become a separate layer. The OS become a separate layer. The reason why we're doing this actually into a separate layers actually because it can be easily managed by separately. So that all of this, if they are separately managed, right, it reduces the time for you to manage your virtual desktop. Now you can have a single OS image, regardless of different applications, regardless of different business unit. You can have one app copy that actually attach to the servers. And the best thing about app volume is actually, it capture once and deliver to all of your thousands of virtual desktop or RDSH. And it reduce your infrastructure costs drastically using the single app copy. Now we launched apps on demand last year. Now with apps on demand now you can even publish your applications from a traditional RDSH actually to a much more optimized environment. You can easily host those active applications capacity actually with the next RDSH host initiative. So all of this actually to optimize your hardware and to minimize your capex investment. And of course, you can't talk about Horizon actually without talking about the end user experience, because in the end, that VDI is all about end user experience. It is all thanks to the protocol. Our Horizons actually runs on Blast Extreme protocol, which is actually a very compressed, very optimized protocol to deliver that screen sessions actually to the end users. We have the most agnostic supports actually for all of the endpoint devices, inclusive of thin clients, zero clients, anything, inclusive of all of those kind of USB redirections that you're talking about. I might have a lot of funny peripherals that I might need to actually plug into my endpoint device that I need to redirect to my virtual desktop so that I can continue use my let's say smart card reader, my headset, which is USB device, and we are also able to optimize our applications like for communication collaborations like WebEx, Zoom, Teams, which are very prone to data, data or video traffics. And I mentioned just now actually that Horizon's also been used very in a lot of 3D GPUs applications that we partners actually with people like NVIDIA, Intel, or AMD actually to deliver those rendering graphics intensive applications in real time actually to the devices. And of course, the whole entire solutions have like I shared earlier in the platforms, right? They are all tightly integrated with Workspace ONE, to provide access to personalized virtualized desktop applications, be it from company laptops to the home PC, to thin clients, to Mac, to tablet, to smartphones. And Horizon actually delivered the personalized experience with DM, providing personalized desktop and applications with app volume whenever they need. And I can't emphasize much actually on the security side. So a lot of virtual desktop, I mean, like we talk about the FSIs actually that they are they are virtualizing the desktop actually because of for the purpose of security. And we have all of those policy that can be applied to the users with Horizon security policy. But most of this policy, if you ask me actually, like, what makes Horizon so different actually compared to the other VDI solutions out there in the markets actually, they are all static policy. What do I mean by static policy? Static policy means actually that if I today that I disable the USB, the local printing or clipboard, right? I apply to the user called Jimmy. It will apply that, stick that forever until the administrator change the policy. Now our policy are dynamically changed according to the user behavior, according to how the user access the applications. I give an example. If today I'm working from a cafeteria or I'm actually traveling in airport, I'm using an internet, a public internet Wi-Fi. Now, because the network is actually insecure, it's not secure determined by the IT, the policy will automatically disable all of my USB, local printing, and clipboard. But the moment I come back to the office network, which is deemed as a secure network, it will automatically apply back. I can configure as an IT, I can apply back that I can able to do printing. Example, I can do the drive redirections. So this is what we call dynamic policy, that we can configure it to apply depending on the user changes, the user behavior, the networks. And of course, I have a lot of other policy that I can, if I want to protect the data, I can block the user from capturing the screenshots. I can prevent things like keyloggers. I can even have digital watermarks if there are some users are smart enough actually to take their camera to take pictures, and most actually that I can even capture the entire VDI sessions, just like a CCTV. I can record the entire VDI sessions, knowing what the user did, what clicks they make, what actions they did, whether it's for audit purposes or for training purposes. So the entire actually virtual desktop actually it is all to provide the user secure access and data. Now then I talk about the experience management. Is actually to provide the IT a much more better visibility on the insights of how's my VDI doing. I'm always heard about the users telling me my VDI is slow, but how slow is slow? I don't have the insights, the data. How do I automate things? So our digital employee experience, or DAX in short, actually is to provide all this, to analyze all of this virtual desktop so that it will provide you with a guided RCA to the IT. So what are we doing is actually to remediate and automate the entire workflows, okay, with the help of such tools, actually with the help of from other tools as well. So I'm going to give you a very glance here, actually, how's our dashboard looks like. So in a very high glance, actually, you can see that all of our inputs, the health or states of your environments, the components, the servers, everything from the dashboard. And you can actually customize the reportings actually and present actually depends on how you want to provide it. And at deep level, actually, I told you that VDI is just VDI. I just provide to the users. But what about the experience? How do I know that whether the users are happy using it? Unless that the user makes some complaints, they log a tickets to the help desk. But how do I change this reactive supports to become something more proactive? By having an insights on the VDI sessions. I'll look at the things like, whether they are, what kind of performance is it providing for me today? What's the contributors that are degrading my performance? what are the things like from log on, just like I mentioned, my VDIs are very slow. These are typical things that I always heard from help desk. The top number one VDIs are tickets. VDI are slow. How slow is slow? A 5 second can be slow to me, but a 10 second can be slow to you. So we want to look into deep into the log on, like even from a log on experience, the end to end from the moment when the user double click on the VDI, the sessions was actually broker authenticated from the moment that the the users are authenticated and the GPO policy has been loaded down to profiles been loaded. We want to get to all those nitty-gritty details and find out where is the slowdown coming in. So that is actually what's about Horizons. And we provide things like with AI and I told you that we have AI that's been shared commonly actually that it will helps actually to detect and provide you a guided RZA. Now this actually we want to shift from those that rather than waiting for the end users to make a complaint, logging the tickets to the help desk and IT picking up the tickets and then try to troubleshoot. We are changing the entire shift to something called proactive experience. So before even the user complains or VVIP log a tickets to the help desk, we want to be able to solve and remediate all of this to the users. And still some of a lot of what I call that, our customers are telling me that hey, Horizon is a very good solution, but I do not have the special people to manage the VDI. I don't have the people actually to manage them. So that's one of the things actually that we launched last year. We call it Horizon Accelerator. Horizon Accelerator is actually a managed application and services that it it, it supports from day zero, that providing you, ensuring that your VDS actually that designed according to standard best practice architectures, to your day two, making sure that your adoptions are there, making sure that when you talk about day in day out day two operations, we have a dedicated people actually to assist you to troubleshoot, to look at the changes, optimization, patches, and look at way actually like know what's wrong and how can it be further optimized in your environment. So for those that are concerns that they do not have the expertise actually to manage Horizon, that feel free to talk to us. Actually, that we have services actually that that can able to help you. Now that is pretty much I want to deliver today. Now, one thing I just want to highlight is actually that I want to move to the next things actually that we have Omnissa one that was actually hosted in Vegas last month. So there was a lot of a new announcement that's been made. So here I'm going to share some of the highlights that we have from Omnissa one, specifically for Horizon. Okay. This is something that we already recently launched GA for. We call it digital employee experience, right? The DEX, but these are enhancement for Horizon monitoring options. Now, some of the things actually that we are breaking down things like the group policy, the log on. There's things like guided RCA playbooks, and there are things like software meterings will be coming soon. We have things like Omnissa monitorings, and we'll be closely look into both the networks and on-premise for Horizon deployments. So what are this? All this actually soft actually that we are talking about those customers that are lacking in terms of options to they want to look at monitoring options, a better in-depth on the VDI sessions, and for those customers that have they want to reduce the license because they don't want to deal with third-party monitorings. They want to deal with they want to reduce the IT time, the cost, and of course they want to improve the experience. So our DEX for Horizon actually been there in the market for quite some time, but we are continuous actually enhancing on and expanding the features over there. We have a very long time actually partnership actually with NVIDIA's, and especially for the GPU side. And the recent GPU, I mean for those are aware that the latest GPU architectures called Blackwell has been recently also been supported by NVIDIA. So these are very specific actually. It's very good use case for those that I mentioned that for those GPU use cases like knowledge workers, the power users that are harnessing those multimedia's highly intensive GPUs. And then also recently also we mentioned that we have supporting some things outside of VMware, which is Nutanix AHV. So right now it's actually is on limited availability. We should have general availability soon by end of this year. This is one of the, I would say, one of the biggest. A lot of people ask me that what's the sentiments after Omnissa being spin off from Broadcom or VMware. This is something I would say that the first step that we are doing that because for the longest period, Horizon has been supporting vSphere, right, and always been vSphere because we are VMware, right. So now that we are no longer tied to VMware or Broadcom, that we are going to be supporting more and more hypervisor, and AHV is going to be just going to be the first one, but you know there will be more hypervisors going to be supported soon. So yep, having said that, that's all I have for today. I have a lot of I have some of the hyperlinks over here, like things that you can get more information from our official websites. And from technical side, you can get to Tech Zone, and if you're interested for test drive or trial, you can always go to testdrive.omnissa.com. So I'm going to stop sharing for now and checks. Is there any questions so far? Yep, I saw there's questions from the chat. By the way, for you guys, actually, if you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself, or you can just put it on the chat. But I have a question here from always here that they want to know more that if Omnissa going to have their own hypervisor, or they're going to work with Hyper-V, KVM, and VMware. I'm gonna address this question first. So like I said that the first non-vSphere hypervisor that we're going to support is Nutanix AHV first. But having said that, we will still going to have more hypervisor coming in the roadmap. Hyper-V, actually, as of today, right? If you just look at some of the websites, just like I mentioned, the Omnissa our official technical website or the documentation of products site, right? We do support Hyper-V or KVM for unmanaged VDI. We call it persistent virtual desktop. These are full managed, a full persistent virtual desktop. It's already been supported. Okay. But just that those like people like Nutanix AHV, right? We have much more features like things like you talk about automated provisionings, but don't talk about. I mean, you won't see things like instant clone happenings on Nutanix or any other platforms, because some of those like clonings, right? They are proprietaries to vSphere. But having said that, you will still see some of those kind of like automated cloning, fast cloning, provisionings from different hypervisor. So AHV, we're going to have their own flavors as well. So you want to know about more, just stay tuned. Always stay tuned actually with our products. Actually, that we are releasing more and more. Actually, like I say that down the by end of this year, we're going to have a full support for Nutanix AHV. So I hope that address your question, always Hyder. And next, we will have another question from Muhammad Sakib. What about the licensing? Is it per VM base or per user base? Now that's a very, very good question. So Horizon has been always licensed based on users. Okay, we have two types of user license, meaning the name users and concurrent users. So how do I look at these two types of licensings? I'm going to put this actually on the what I call it chat. So the two type of license that we have actually that like I told you, name user and concurrent, right? So it all depends on your use case. I give you an example. A typical normal users like me and you guys, like Ovis, Jimmy, right? We are 9 to 5 office worker. Okay, so we don't share our desktop. We use our own laptops, right? So we are known as name users. So Ovis will become one license, Jimmy will become another license. We have more people like Shiraz, there will be another license, and third license, and so on and so on. So if you have 100 users that requires to access to virtual desktop, there will be 100 name users. Okay, but another use case for concurrent. So how does concurrent users come into the picture? Remember I told you there was one of the use case actually for contact centers. Now, why I want to pick contact centers? Because they are shift worker. A same machine, a same workstation that can be shared to different users. They can be morning shift, afternoon shift, and night shift. 3 workers, but they would not be using this workstation at the same time because Jimmy will come in the morning, Ovis will come in at afternoon, Shiraz will come in at the night shift. So at one time, there will only be one concurrent users. Now, in this kind of scenario that if you are using a lot of sharing PC, these kind of things, right? It makes more sense, or I would say much more economical to go for concurrent users. And by the way, the same applies to people like like I told you just now earlier in one of my use case, the education virtual labs. Because virtual labs, in a virtual labs, you probably have a 30 or 40 PC, but it's being used by thousands of students. So in this kind of scenario that, it'd be more cheaper that, you buy a 30 concurrent user rather than 1,000 name users license. And guess what? All of this license, right? You have a choice actually that, to go with or without the vSphere bundle. Like remember I told you that, you still need a hypervisor, right? And this is something that, our licensing have the biggest differentiator compared to other competitor. For instance, like I told you, Citrix, right? You buy Citrix and you buy Horizon, you're paying the same amount, like license, maybe $1,000. Let's say, I'm giving an example, $1,000. But guess what? Citrix are also running on vSphere. And then you ask the vSphere license for Broadcom. Broadcom will look at how many servers that you have. One server, you have 2 sockets. One socket, you have 32 core. Totality, you have 64 cores multiplied by maybe 3 or 4 hosts. And this is the number of price that you need to pay, Mr. Customer. But guess what? When it comes with Horizon, all this can be unlimited. With VVF or VDI, the one that the slides I mentioned to you just now, VVF or VDI, it gives you the unlimited usage for regardless of the host that you are deploying, regardless of the core that you have. And this is, I told you that this makes us so different that this is a proprietary, I would say this is a exclusive deal that we strike with Broadcom. And not even Broadcom, if you ask Broadcom, they don't even have this kind of licensing for you because this is only made when you purchase for Horizon VDI. These are exclusive for Horizon VDI. So this already makes us a huge difference compared to a lot of VDI out there in the market. And it saves you a lot of costs as well. And especially again, I didn't want to, I mean, I can't highlight this more enough actually, that, you know, a lot of your Citrix customer today, they are running on vSphere. And when the renewal comes, actually, that, you know, they have to start paying a lot, actually, not just to Citrix, but also to Broadcom. And this becomes a unbudgeted cost, because most of the customer today is actually that they are not budgeted for all of this, because all these are used to be free. Well, they are no longer free now. Okay, so feel free, go and talk to, especially if you're a lot of our Citrix customer, go and talk to them. They always wanted to hear more from us actually, you know, how do we help them on licensing costs, optimization and stuff like that. Yes, always.
Okay. Jimmy, I have some question.
Yes, please.
Okay, my first question is this: what migration path exists for VMware Horizon customers moving to Omnissa Horizon?
Horizon to Omnissa, there is no migrations, because whether you're using VMware Horizon or Omnissa Horizon, it's still the Horizon. You're still dealing with the same Horizon, unless you're talking about the version.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you're, let's say you're coming from, I'll give you an example. The only difference is actually on the licensing, especially that I know in the Pakistan territories, most of the customers are on-premise. Okay, you don't deal with, although that I told you that Horizon is supporting cloud, those kind of thing, but I guess most of the customer here are they are on-premise. When they're on-premise, they have a specific license key that they have to key in on the Horizon. Okay, so if let's say you are on Horizon 8, VMware Horizon 8, since VMware time 3 years ago, now you're renewing with Omnissa Horizon, it doesn't change. Nothing changed on your architecture, nothing changed on the server. The only thing the small change that I can foresee is I see is actually that the license key. In the VMware times, we have the old key format. Old key formats, I think there's around like you know the license key that you key in on Horizon console, right? There's around like 25 key characters. In Omnissa, we're moving to something much more secure. This is a 30 keys character format. That was the only thing changed. 25 key format to 30 key format. Apart from that, I don't see any change. Maybe there's a logo change. If you're installing the latest Horizon now, everything is with the Omnissa branding logo. If you're dealing with the previous Horizon, they will probably still be using the same old VMware logo. Yeah.
Okay, my second question is this: how is backup and disaster recovery handled for Horizon environments?
This is also a very good question. So basically, what I will suggest actually that, you know, first thing, what makes us different actually from the other competitors in the market is actually that, you know, because the way that we virtualize our VDI is different, right? We're not using. I'm going to pull out a screen here that, you know, if you can see my VDI here. Okay.
Yeah, I can see.
So what makes us so different is actually that, you know, we are not using a traditional VDI. A traditional VDI means that I have my profile settings, application data, all tightly integrated with my OS that make it as a whole as a virtual desktop. But remember that, you know, in Horizon, we segregate all of this into separate layer. My data, my apps is separate layer. If something wrongs with my VDI, I just delete that thing, and I still have my applications managed by app volume and provision to the users. I don't have to back up my VDI. But what happens to my data? If I wipe out my entire VDI, does that mean my data will be gone? No, because your data are not stored inside the VDI. Your data, if you can see from this screen, right, your data, your profiles, they are all stored separately in a shared folder, in a shared location, in a shared storage. So what we need to do is just backing up that shared folder rather than backing up the 1000 VDI. So that is what makes Horizon different when I talk about the manageability. Because imagine that, if you're using a traditional VDI, right, you still need to do 1000 VDI backups. But now with Horizon, you don't have to. You just maintain one master image and then you back up the, let's say, that NAS storage that's storing your data, or maybe that file server, because all of the data are stored in the file server. You just back up that file server only. That's it. You do not
Okay.
have to back up all the 1000 or 10,000 VDI. Because if anything happens, I can just simply provision a brand new VDI and then redirect you with the user applications, their data, and the settings easily. And that is also how I address disaster recovery, the DR. Do you think when it comes to DR, I really back up my 1000 VDI and restore it to the DR side? We do not do that. So
Okay.
to answer your question, with all
Yeah.
of these DM app volumes that you do not need to back up the entire VDI. You just have to back up the this is going to be a shared folder that are storing your application, your user profiles and the user data. And then the VMDK. VMDK is just one image. That's it.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
The last question from my side is
Yep.
how does Horizon ensure data security and session isolation? And what are the best practices for securing Horizon deployments in, you can say, hybrid environments?
Yep. So like I mentioned earlier, right? Just now that when it comes to Horizon, right? What exactly is Horizon actually? Because we don't. I give you back the same example, like today this webinar is actually hosted via Teams. You're seeing my screen, my PowerPoint presentation, but does it mean that PowerPoint, the data is actually residing on your endpoint? It does not. What you see is just a screen share only. Now that screen sharing sessions is actually delivered by Horizon Blast protocol. That protocol is a compressed and encrypted sessions. There's no data. Okay, the entire data are actually stored within your data center's environment. And of course, I have so much things actually to protect the data. I can prevent things like screenshot, copy and paste, USB, local printing, and if it's not enough, I can have screen capture, keyloggers, watermarking. I can even record the entire VDI sessions. We have all the means here is actually to protect the data security. That is the reason why I told you that why our solutions actually being used by across so many industry out there in the market. I have people that I have manufacturings that are dealing with IP. Their design are actually using our solution Horizon just to protect, to prevent that design, their IP, the data from leaking out from the organization. I got FSIs that are bounded by a lot of this kind of security compliances like FedRAM, the SOX compliances, PCIs that are using our solutions, because our solutions are not just a VDI solution, but our solutions are actually certified with all of these compliances, be it healthcare, be it FSI, be it a public sector, even defense. I can't name all of these customers because they are all over the world. There are 26,000 customers worldwide that are using the solution, because the solutions are, like I told you, that Omnissa may sound new to a lot of people, but the solutions at Horizon has been there, been used by more than 20 plus years from our customer. It's a proven solution. It's a trusted solution that is being used by all of these customers.
Got it.
I hope. Mm, yep.
Got it.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Yep.
Jimmy,
I
I
think
have a question here.
yes. Please.
I want to know about the remote user access. How remote user will be accessing the VDIP within our network, and what security measures to implement the remote access? And what about the MFA SSO? If we want to implement, is there any mechanism to implement this MFA and SSO?
That is a very, very good question. So first thing is actually that, before we talk about is actually that, we need to know that, how does Horizon works. Okay.
Mhm.
Let me try to find if there's let me see if I can find you a presentation or slides that can talk about this more. Yep, I think this would be a good one. So I'm going to use this. A lot of this thing actually I got it from my, you can just Google it, Omnissa, right? Yeah, but this is not a very good use because it doesn't have a flow. I think this one's a better one. Yeah, yeah. This is a very, very good site. It's called Omnissa. You can get most of the stuff actually over here. So let's try to understand actually that, how does Horizon works. If you can see my screen over here, right? Horizon, I told you that,
Okay.
it comes from the Horizon protocol, right? There are two main protocol. The primary one is actually called it authentications. Okay. The
Mhm.
secondary one is actually the display protocol. Now, the flow perspective is actually that, the first thing, the end user, they can come from anywhere, any client, zero client, team client, laptop, desktop, mobile phone, table, anything, right? First thing is they establish the first connection first to the broker. That connection is actually, we call it authentication, just to check that if this Jimmy, is it the same or legit Jimmy from Omnissa? How is he going to check that? He's
Okay.
going to pass it to AD. You AD have all of your username, password, credentials. We don't store anything of this. AD will be the one that making sure that, checking that, the username password that you key in is a legit Jimmy from Omnissa. Now, let's say AD says correct. He will pass it back to the broker, the connection server, and tell you that, hey, this guy is a legit Jimmy from Omnissa. Let him come in. Then only there will be a second protocol be established, which is the display protocol. Okay, the display protocol is actually
Okay.
with the virtual desktop icon. Okay, that's the moment that you double click on that video icon, you'll be able to access to the virtual desktop. Now that's not
Okay.
it. This is just internal. So what if actually that, if those users are coming from external,
Outside our network, external.
outside,
Yes.
you do not want to front your connection server, your AD to public, right? So that's the reason why there's a gateway. The gateway will be placed on your DMZ segment. The DMZ segments actually will be the one that relaying the traffics, whether it's the authentications or the display protocol. Because if let's say anything happens that, if you're not you're just someone that's just trying to you're not the legit Jimmy lah, or
Mhm.
you're a hacker, you're trying to brute force, the packets will be dropped over here at your DMZ segments. It won't go through your connection servers. Okay, and we have a lot of other things like just now you asked me that MFA and all those kind of things actually. So
Mhm.
Horizon itself, the VDI itself actually that we do support a lot of MFA's solutions. Like for example, if let's say you're using RSA, I can also have I mean apart from this username password, right? I can also have the MFA like RSA or Radius. We do support Radius. So this
Mhm.
can be directly integrated within the Horizon solutions. And of course, there are a lot of other solutions out there in the market that, like even the also called free things like Microsoft Authenticator, Google Authenticator, those can be also integrated with
Okay,
Omnissa
so it is
Access.
integrated, it can be integrated with Azure AD as well.
Radius, I say those can be directly integrated for on-premise. Okay, but if you're talking
Okay.
about those things like for example, like Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, those are like SAML based, right? We will need another component called Omnissa Access. Omnissa Access is included for Horizon Cloud users because the Omnissa Access itself is actually a cloud component. It's not an on-prem component. So if you are on-premise customers, you may need to get another additional component called Omnissa Access to integrate to those SAML-based or cloud-based MFA. But if you are talking about just Radius, RSA token, those kind of things, right, that can be done directly to the on-premise connection service.
Okay. So we need to deploy a unified access gateway as well in between the connection server and Horizon.
This is definitely recommended for because you definitely, unless you're telling me that no Jimmy, that I don't have any users that going to be coming from outside of my local network. As long as you have any users that coming from internet, then this is the recommendation. UAG,
Okay.
the gateway. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Jim.
Yep. I hope that addressed your questions. Any other questions? We've been running quite a good, I think, yeah. I think I'm pretty much done, Ovis.
Yeah.
Unless there's any other
Thanks,
questions
Jimmy.
coming from the side.
I don't think so. So, many thanks for delivering such a valuable session.
Yep. Thanks for everyone's holding up with me. I hope the sessions actually give you a very much more better understanding on Horizon, the use cases, and if you wanted to know more, feel free to reach out to Ovis. I can also work with Ovis actually to come and share with you more. Yeah.
I will be happy to assist in any aspects, either it's technical or something necessary like that. So
Sure,
I
sure.
will be available.
Sure. Okay.
So I think, yeah, it's time to finalize and wind up the session. It's a very good session. No.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Jimmy.
Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank you, sir.